Now, can government manage to formalise the taxi industry? A question often asked regarding the 50 billion rand economic sector, and government is mulling ways to formalise the industry that ferries millions daily, every day, whose reputation has been tarnished by lawlessness and a poor safety record. And among the challenges facing the industry are, of course, labour relations as well as turf wars between rival organisations over routes. And keeping a very close eye on the efforts to formalise the industry is Dr Siyabulela Fobosi. He is a senior researcher at UNESCO, Oliver Tambo Chair of Human Rights under the Faculty of Law at the University of Fort Hare. He joins us now live to help us make sense of some of these questions. Doctor, a very good evening to you. What a pleasure. Look, your piece actually highlights some of the challenges of regulating the taxi industry, particularly regarding fragmentation as well as political interference. How can then these issues be effectively addressed?
Right, thank you. Thank you, Alicia. Thanks for having me. Good evening, by the way, and good evening to the viewers. You've invited me to discuss a very important topic, especially within the public transport sector. You know, and I do think that to address some of those challenges, there's a need for a robust regulatory frameworks and inclusive policies, policy making rather. You know, and also the most important thing for me is your collaboration between government and industry stakeholders, which is important for effective implementation and enforcement of the number of changes that are brought to the industry.
Now, you also discussed the perpetuation of violence within the taxi industry, Doctor. So please elaborate on some of the underlying socioeconomic factors that actually contribute to this violence and how it might be mitigated. We often hear that the fights actually start over simple things like routes.
Absolutely, absolutely. You know, the biggest problem, especially within the socioeconomic factors, you have issues like competition, and of course competition is necessary, for businesses to thrive, But what you have in the industry is what I will call stiff competition. That stiff competition is a competition over routes, and then you also have so some owners that are given operating licenses to operate on a particular route. And then you have, taxi owners that still don't have operating licenses, but they're using what they call certificates because they are still waiting, from the authorities to give them operating licenses. So there's that problem. So then they compete on on the lucrative route, that is mostly viable. That is mostly having most passengers, so that's the problem. That's where it starts, and also you've got, competition over, those routes. You've got people, in some cases they would hire what they call ingabi, to kill someone, which is a problem. So then that's why it becomes important that, the government be more involved, especially in terms of what is happening. And also, of course, government is tried. I do think that even the industry itself needs to show willingness in terms of what must be done.
Now, doctors, back to your earlier point of collaborative efforts, you also mentioned in your op-ed that capacity building initiatives for leaders with taxi associations. Can you please just outline briefly some specific strategies for implementing such initiatives effectively?
Right, thank you, Alicia. What I do think is implementing, in terms of implementing capacity building initiative, would involve, training in leadership, first of all, training those in leadership in terms of conflict resolution and business engagement, right? And also effective strategies, could include, mentorship programs and partnerships with educational institutions to empower leaders, and improve organizational effectiveness. So I do think that the most important thing that, is inviting, the leaders, in the industry, and also not just the leaders, even the drivers themselves, in terms of, discussing ways in terms of addressing, what is happening, how can they work together, to ensure that the industry functions well and avoids instances of tax violence, which is mostly what is happening in most of the provinces, within the country. And that is not good. That is not good because, it paints a bad picture, a very bad picture of the industry, because such that, your commuters would then not be comfortable, traveling with the industry, even though the industry is most efficient, because the industry, the taxis, they would take you from point A to point B and go to where the buses don't go. That's the most important thing. So when then there are instances of violence, then that paints a very bad picture, in terms of relying to the industry.
Very quickly, Doctor, look, government has tried some initiatives and we know how that went in terms of trying to transform as well as formalize and regulate the taxi industry sector. So what do you then suggest can be done in order to achieve all these variables that you've mentioned?
Right, thank you. And of course, you've just mentioned it rather, that government has tried. And of course the government is still trying, and I would appreciate the fact, in fact, mention the fact that what has been started by government, especially in terms of TRP, was good. That TRP is the taxi recomposition program, which was meant to scrap old taxi vehicles. But of course, some of the taxi owners did not benefit from that, and as a result, the industry the program was revised. So there are still some challenges, and I do think that there needs to be some reforms in terms of engaging with the industry and see to it that some of the issues can be addressed, and also considering the interests of the industry, and especially in a context where there are different people, with different interests and private owners, and I do think that engagement, with different owners would solve some of the problems.
Doctor, we're going to leave it there. Thank you so much for that. That is Dr. Siyabulela Fobosi, the senior researcher at the UNESCO, Tambo, chair of human rights at the Fort Hare University.